So, OPPO is back with a new F series for India. And let me tell you, it looks like they're not just playing around this time. They seem to be aiming to completely shake up the mid-range game. We're talking about the new F33 series, and it's not just another minor upgrade. Nope, this thing seems to be a real statement. It's focusing on three massive areas: a pretty revolutionary camera, some serious top-tier durability, and a battery that looks like it could last for days. So is it all hype? Well, let's jump in and find out.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First up, we've got the confirmed launch info for India. Then, we'll dive into what they're calling the new selfie standard, and it sounds pretty wild. After that, we'll check out how this thing is built. Spoiler, it's tough. Then, we'll talk about the battery, which is a monster. And finally, the all-important question, what's it going to cost? We'll wrap up with our final thoughts. Okay, let's get right to it. The big news? The wait is pretty much over. OPPO has made it official. This series is definitely coming to India.
Yup, you're going to want to mark this down. The official launch date for the OPPO F33 series in India is April 15th. That's right, it's just around the corner, so we're about to get all the official details.
So as we kind of figured, there are two models to choose from. First, you've got the OPPO F33 Pro 5G. Think of this as the main event, the one packed with all the cool new features, especially with its camera. Then there's the standard OPPO F33 5G. This one takes the best parts, like that huge battery, and puts it all in a package that's a little easier on the wallet.
Okay, now for the main story, the feature that's getting all the buzz. You know how OPPO has always called themselves the selfie expert, right? Well, with the F33 series, it looks like they're really doubling down on that claim. And they're taking it to a completely different level, especially on the Pro model. And it all starts with this number, 50 megapixels. Yeah, a 50 megapixel front camera. That is a huge resolution, and it promises some seriously sharp, detailed selfies. But, the megapixel count, that's really only half of what's going on here.
The other half of the story is this, a 100-degree ultra-wide lens. And what does that actually mean for you? Well, it's a total game changer for group shots. No more trying to cram everyone in. No more cutting your friends off at the edge of the photo. You can get more of the scenery, more of your friends, basically the whole shebang, all in one shot. And you can probably leave the selfie stick at home.
And get this, to make it even smarter, they've built in something called the AI Group V Expert. And honestly, this is just brilliant. What it does is, the phone can tell when there are more than two people in the frame, and when it does, it automatically switches to that super wide 0.6x view. You don't have to touch a thing. The phone just does the work for you to make sure nobody gets left out.
All right, so let's put it all side by side and look at the camera specs. I mean, for selfie fans, the Pro is the obvious choice, right? You get that massive 50-megapixel ultra-wide camera and the smart AI Group V feature. The standard F33 is no slouch, though. It's got a very solid 32-megapixel selfie camera. Now, around the back, things are interesting. Both phones share the same 50-megapixel main camera, but the secondary lens is different. The Pro gets a 2-megapixel depth sensor. That's the little guy that helps you get that nice blurry background, that portrait mode look.
So you've got this amazing camera, but what's the point if the phone itself is fragile, right? Well, it looks like OPPO thought about that too, because they've put a huge emphasis on the build quality and just how tough the F33 series is. Okay, just look at this IP rating. Now, we're all used to seeing IP67, maybe IP68 on really expensive flagship phones. But the F33 Pro, it's coming with an IP69K rating. And trust me, that K at the end is a huge deal. It is literally the highest level of protection you can get. We're talking about protection from high-pressure, high-temperature water jets. This is the kind of industrial-grade durability that you almost never, ever see on a mid-range phone.
And it's not just tough. It's designed to feel really premium too. The Pro model uses a technique they call one-piece cold carving, which basically means it has this smooth, seamless unibody feel. The new camera bump, the Starry C lens module, looks super clean and minimalistic. And here's a key point. The back is in glass. It's a polymer composite, which they say is much better at surviving drops. And of course, you've got three pretty slick color options: Misty Forest, Starry Blue, and Passion Red.
All right, so we've got a killer camera and a super tough build. But the big question is, will it last all day? Let's talk about the battery and the performance that's driving this thing.
And whoa, this is another feature that just jumps off the page. Both the regular F33 and the Pro model are expected to have a massive 7,500 mAh battery. Let me say that again, 7,500. That is absolutely gigantic. For most people, that should easily mean 2 full days of use. So yeah, you can probably forget about carrying a power bank around.
But here's where things get weird. In a good way. You'd automatically assume the Pro model gets the fastest charging, wouldn't you? Well, nope. OPPO decided to flip the script. The F33 Pro gets a very, very fast 80-watt SuperVOOC charge. But the standard F33? It gets an even faster 100-watt charge. It's an unusual choice, but a fascinating one for sure.
So what's running the show? Well, the F33 Pro is using a MediaTek Dimensity 6360 Max processor. Now, what that name tells us is that this chip is all about efficiency. It's built to handle all your everyday stuff, scrolling, apps, videos, really smoothly, without draining that huge battery. Look, it's not a chip for super hardcore gamers who need every last frame per second, but for pretty much everyone else, it's going to be plenty powerful.
Okay, so let's recap. We have an amazing camera, a seriously tough build, and a battery that goes on for days. But there's one last crucial piece of the puzzle we need to talk about, and for many of us, it's the most important one: the price.
So the leaks are suggesting the F33 Pro 5G will land somewhere between 31,000 and 35,000 rupees. That makes sense, right? It's for people who are willing to pay a bit more for that top-of-the-line selfie camera and the incredible durability. The standard F33 5G is expected to be a bit more affordable, somewhere in the 26,000 to 30,000 rupee range. And that makes it a fantastic deal for anyone whose top priorities are that massive battery and the even faster charging.
So when you put it all together, that huge 50-megapixel ultra-wide front camera, the clever AI that just works, and the fact that they're trying to solve a real problem like fitting everyone into a photo, it's pretty clear OPPO is gunning for the title of best mid-range camera phone. And that leaves us with one big question. Is this combination of a groundbreaking camera, extreme toughness, and a monster battery, is it enough to make the F33 Pro the new king of its segment? I guess we'll all find out on April 15th.